Welcome to our podcast where we dive deep into some really thought-provoking themes. Today we're talking about the clash between Greek wisdom and Christianity.
Yeah, it's quite fascinating. What stands out is how Greek philosophy, birthed reason and challenged the world, yet eventually got buried under the Christian regime.
Absolutely. The input paints this vivid picture. Greek philosophy, with Socrates questioning everything, Plato envisioning ideals like justice, and Aristotle mapping reality, represented the pinnacle of intellectual freedom. It's like,
Indeed.
these thinkers laid the groundwork for ethics, democracy, and science.
Right, and then you have this dramatic pivot. After Christianity took over, all that debate and inquiry apparently just disappeared.
Yes, exactly. It's almost like once the church got a grip on power, the emphasis shifted from questioning to enforcing obedience. And that really changed the course of Western thought.
Yeah. So, are we saying that the rise of Christianity killed off the spirit of inquiry that defined ancient Athens?
Precisely. Before Christianity, Athens was like the epicenter of open debate where you could discuss gods, the universe, and alternative views. Even when Socrates died, it was in the context of a democratic debate rather than
Right.
outright suppression.
But then, by the 4th century, things shifted, didn't they? I mean, we've all heard that Constantine's conversion wasn't just spiritual, it was pretty strategic.
Yes, exactly. Constantine's conversion was a turning point. He saw Christianity as a tool to unify the empire, emphasizing obedience over debate. It's like he traded the spirit of inquiry for social order.
That's true. That's quite a stark trade-off. But one thing that really grabs me is how the philosophers were systematically pushed out. It wasn't just a philosophical debate, it was physical, even violent in some cases.
Right. And the text makes that brutally clear with the story of Hypatia of Alexandria. Here you have this brilliant mind, a philosopher, astronomer, mathematician, essentially made an example of for being too independent and pagan
Yeah, it's really chilling.
by a vicious mob.
I agree. And it also raises this question. If Christians claim to have preserved Greek texts, but in doing so filtered and distorted them, what really was the cost?
That's exactly the point. I mean, copying texts isn't preserving the culture of questioning. It's like you could keep a book on a shelf but still lose the spirit it represented. The true cost was, well, centuries of lost progress in genuine inquiry.
Right, indeed. And we see that even with giants like Plato and Aristotle, they were only selectively retained, baptized, so to speak, to serve strategies in theology.
Yeah, exactly. Their work was repurposed. For instance, Plato became a tool for explaining the soul, and Aristotle got intertwined with what you might call theological armor. It wasn't about exploring truth. It was about, fortifying a doctrine.
That's true. But I have to push back a little. Isn't it a bit simplistic to say Christianity solely killed Greek wisdom? There were also moments of synthesis, like Neoplatonism, where reason and religion attempted, though sometimes wildly, to coexist.
That's a fair point. Neoplatonism did try to harmonize reason and religion, but the thing is, even those attempts were eventually branded as heresy. When dissent was labeled heretical, it stifled rather than truly integrated independent thought.
Yes, right. So even those efforts, no matter how well-intentioned, got co-opted under a regime that valued conformity.
Exactly. And think about this. When entire institutions like Plato's Academy were shuttered, officially by Justinian, it symbolized that shift from inquiry to control. It wasn't a gentle exclusion. It was an outright enforcement of a single worldview.
Right on. And that enforcement, it kind of set the stage for science to stall for centuries, right?
Absolutely. When inquiry gave way to dogma, practical progress suffered tremendously. Medicine turned into ritual prayer, astronomy slid into the realm of astrology, and, dare I say, genuine ethics were replaced by rigid obedience.
Yep. And the case of Galileo really underscores the enduring conflict between reason and power. I mean, the church forced him to recant. It's like a modern echo of that ancient stifling of debate.
Right, it's almost like history has this recurring motif. The power structure bending over backward to crush independent thought because, it threatens the established order.
Yeah, exactly. What really gets me is the notion that even today, modern Christianity sometimes misappropriates these ancient ideas. I mean, claiming to preserve Greek thought now, after having, once locked it away?
Yeah, it's quite ironic. The text suggests that modern narratives might even praise the Church for preserving texts, but they conveniently leave out the price paid, centuries of silenced debate and
That's
stifled
the irony.
progress.
It's like saying, hey, we saved the lion's head, while the whole creature was strangled centuries ago.
Exactly, it's, a powerful analogy. Preserving a fragment doesn't mean preserving the whole philosophy. And that fraction, once altered to serve a specific doctrine, hardly represents the original spirit of inquiry that
Yeah, absolutely.
defined Greek philosophy.
And then you think about the long-term effects. Imagine if the self-correcting nature of Socratic debate had been allowed to flourish unabated.
Imagine that, huh? If the Stoics, Epicureans, and others had continued their evolution freely, we might have seen an enlightenment way earlier, maybe even breakthroughs in science and human rights centuries ahead of time.
That's a compelling thought. Honestly, it kind of makes you wonder what else might have been stifled in that relentless push for conformity.
Yep. The text really forces us to confront the idea that the suppression of rational debate wasn't just a cultural hiccup, it was an assault on progress. It makes one question just how many revolutionary ideas were lost when
Definitely,
dissent
that's
was
unsettling.
branded a sin.
And, it also highlights that power has always been in love with control. I mean, why debate when you can command obedience, right?
Exactly. And it's a sobering reminder that intellectual freedom demands continuous vigilance and can't be taken for granted even in modern times.
You're spot on. So when we look at history, it's not just about what was preserved, but what was purposefully erased or twisted to fit a narrative.
Well said. The narrative we're told now often glosses over that brutal suppression, like rewriting history to claim that despite it all, Christianity has always championed reason.
Right, that revisionism is hard to ignore. But then what's the takeaway? Should we view this as a cautionary tale against too much control by any ideology?
Exactly, it's a reminder that while order and unity are valuable, they mustn't come at the price of intellectual freedom. The suppression of debate and the stifling of dissent can and have had profound negative impacts on progress.
Very true. And it challenges us to critically look at how modern institutions might still be, even subtly, curbing genuine inquiry under the guise of preserving tradition.
Yes, it's a call to always question, to never let power monopolize knowledge. That's the legacy of the Greek philosophers, a commitment to reason that, despite everything, continues to inspire us to think boldly.
Absolutely indeed.